Yo, what's up? This is your boy Derek Branch here, strike7sports.com. This is an episode of Strike 7 Sports Podcast. Joined by my co-host Brian Bottom, Leo Seaberg. This is another episode of Strike 7 Sports Podcast. So we're gonna go right into it with our first topic of the day, and that's Frank Reich being dismissed as the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts. Came down yesterday, I think around a little in the afternoon that the Colts were going to be parting ways with the former Buffalo Bills quarterback. Quarterback guru was played a huge part in the growth of Carson Wentz during his time in Philadelphia. Got the job with the Colts, but had luck for a little bit, luck retired, and just been spinning the wheels at the quarterback position, trying to find the right guy. But the owner, Jim Irsay, had seen enough. Fired Reich midway through the season. Had a 3-5 and one record, and he could have had a shot at winning the AFC South. How bad as it is, but I guess that Irsay felt like it wasn't worth it. Decided to part ways with Reich. So looking at Reich's resume, it's 40, 33, and 1. He has two playoff appearances and a 1-2 record in the postseason. I don't think he's had a losing record with the Colts. Last year they could have made the playoffs, but they went 9-8. Lost the last game of the season to Jacksonville. Year prior to that, they went to the playoffs with not Andrew, Philip Rivers. And I mean, the year prior to that, they had Jacoby Brissett, but they fell short. They didn't make the playoffs, so I think they did have a losing record at that during that year. But I want to ask y'all, with Wright's resume and his pedigree as a head coach, as an offensive, as a developer of quarterbacks, was his firing justified?
Uh, I'll take this one first. I think I had punted on this because I had predicted this before the off season. I had predicted like if issue got bad, like if stuff got bad, this could be he could lose his job because they expect to win. Right? They expect winning. But
Yeah,
also I went and looked back at it, thought about the DB and Brian, like they they had a lot of injuries, like Darius Leonard, Jonathan Taylor, uh Quinn Nelson early. They had a lot of injuries, like, and that's a factor that you have to look at too. And like, but I guess at the end of the day, he didn't get the job done. Now, can you say that they could have waited to the end of the season? Because, like you said, the AFC South is there for the up for grabs. But think about it, they already lost twice to Tennessee, so it really isn't up for grabs in that perspective. But it still is 8 games left. So what, 7, 8, 9 games left. So in a way, I feel I'm not a fan of firing coaches during the season. But this was one I could have seen coming if stuff went sideways personally. But I do think that he should have at least got to the end of the season because we don't know what he could have gotten done. But they just I guess he saw that the New England game and said I don't like where this is going and just pulled the plug. And I understand. I understand because I watched that game. They looked pathetic even with the a second year quarterback, and they tried to get some new energy. The team didn't look right, so I understand.
right.
Yeah, this isn't surprising, in my opinion. When you're an offensive-minded coach and you have the stats that the Colts had offensively, somebody was going to get fired, and OC was already gone, so he was next. And really, the one that's really shocking me is how is Chris Ballard still there? He has a losing record. He's been through how many coaches? That's the one that's really scratching my head. How he still has a job. But it's going to be interesting to see how the Colts handle the situation, how Jeff Saturday handles it outside the box in a head coaching hire. Uh, but yeah, the Colts, once they benched Matt Ryan, as bad as he is, for Sam Ellinger, or as bad as he was playing, I think that just signaled they were just given up on this season, in my opinion. So now let's see what draft pick they get, if they can get in a position where they can draft a quarterback or they need to trade up to get one. But I think they got to start fresh, head coach, quarterback, and maybe at some point get a new GM. But we'll see.
Uh,
Go ahead.
I think one thing that's kept Ballard around. Ballard's drafted well. He drafted actually really well. Like that's one of the things that you could finding Jonathan Taylor in the second round, getting Quentin Nelson, finding Shaq Leonard in the fifth round. They found guys, foundational pieces that have been, building blocks for this team. And I say for them, they foundational pieces have, they found getting Ryan. I think was Ryan. No, Ryan Kelly was already there by the time. Yeah, nah, not him. But they found building blocks in the draft, and he's even though you could arguably that they had a quarterback Carousel and like Carousel, like getting Phillip Rivers in there, making the playoffs. He done some good things, but I think everything personally went sideways when Andrew Luck retired. Like slowly, you didn't see it like right away. I think his retirement played a lot into it, like because it definitely caught them off guard. Even though that was 4 years ago, when you as talented as he is, they build it for the next 10, 15 years with you, and then when you all of a sudden, ever since he left, they ain't been the same. So I think that plays a factor too. Not to give him any excuses or nothing, but it's just how it is.
Yeah, it did, man. The way it happened, man, it was like I think it was during the preseason, man. Preseason game, it was just like out of nowhere. They just announced that he's retiring. It's like, whoa. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? It just really caught him off guard. But in regards to the firing, man, um, I guess, some owners, want to see results. Some owners are lenient and are willing to, you know, give a coach time to, build a contender, and some are just, some owners are just, I don't know, just it's like being mediocre for whatever reason. But felt like this would have happened at the end of the season instead of, you know, yesterday during the season, But I mean, is it justifiable? I say it should have been done, like I said, during the end of the season because I mean, you still could have you 3-5. You said that 3-5-1. You still had a shot of even if you felt like the division was out of reach, you had a shot of getting to the like being a wild card, you know. But I felt like that move to bench Matt Ryan for Sam Ellinger was like now it's looking like that's more about Ursay instead of the head coach. Just it's like a legitimate tank job right now. Legitimate tank job when you hire Jeff Saturday off the doggone ESPN set to be a head coach. That's that's crazy. But like I told y'all before, man, Indianapolis always finds themselves in a position to where they can have a chance to draft a talented quarterback. I told you that before. Jeff George, Peyton Manning, Andrew Luck. Now it's Bryce Young. It could be Bryce Young now. So they always find themselves in this position. And I mean, over the last 2 to 3 years, a lot of the national media, the talking heads, they've been like hyping Indianapolis up as the next big thing in the next big thing in the AFC. Because of Frank Reich, the quarterback, the running game, defense. That's all. That's the elements. Those elements right there could travel and win games. And people felt like they could have made a run last year until they lost some winnable games down the stretch. So that falls on Frank Reich. And then you trade away Carson Wentz. A dude that had 27 TDs and only 2 picks. So it's just a lot of bad. It's a bad look, man. It puts Frank Reich in a bad light or bad reputation as a quarterback developer. But I think that there are two jobs out there, like next year, if they open up, I think he could go there and succeed. Denver and Arizona. If he's because I read a report today stated that he wants to continue to be a head coach. So do you think that's a possibility?
Yeah,
Because I'm more sure he could be an OC.
yeah, or that's probably the best thing. It's probably OC. But if he got another head coaching opportunity, I don't think I would be upset or that would be a bad decision. I'd rather have Frank Reich than Cliff Kingsbury. Uh, Depending on how the Broncos finish, you can make a case the same thing for Nathaniel Hackett. I maybe rather have him, Frank Reich, than Nathaniel Hackett. Retreads usually do better their second time around. The one thing,
You
Frank,
know?
well, that's what.
Not my not my retread. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But a friend of the podcast, Easton Freeze, made a really good point when he said that the Colts' biggest issue that not a lot of people talked about was when they lost their two coordinators, who are now the coaches of the Bears and the Eagles, respectively. They never properly replaced them.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be very, very important for Frank Reich if he gets another job to get the right people. And if he loses them, replace them the right way in terms of getting people that are good or even better. But I think Frank Reich definitely deserves another shot. But if he became an OC, especially if he became the OC for the Titans, I wouldn't mind that.
Hey, Leo, I got something to ask you. Leo,
I'm here.
would you take Frank Reich over Josh McDaniel?
No,
No.
we can't judge about it. This is the man's first season. Like you saw work already. It's his first season as the head coach of the Vegas Raiders. Like I can't give you a accurate judgment of who the coach is. Like until we get a couple seasons in. Like right now, everything's not going well. So of course, Frank Reich would look like a more looking like an appeasing option. But now at this moment, I'm still going with Josh McDaniels.
Okay.
I'm going with you. I'm riding with Josh, man. We, it's not. And Frank
Over
Reich, I
Dennis Allen?
mean, huh?
Over Dennis Allen? That retread?
Oh nah. I told you Dennis Allen would be a flop. He's already been a flop already. Like some guys just can't coach. He can't. He's a defensive coordinator at his best. He's
Yeah,
a
he
defensive
is.
coordinator. And if he were the defensive coordinator at Saints right now, nobody would blink an eye. But he's the head coach. That's where we have problems.
He's
But
like
also,
Wade
I can't.
Phillips.
Huh?
He's like Wade Phillips. Good
Wade
guy.
Phillips. Wade Phillips was a good head coach.
Eh, man.
Made the playoffs everywhere he went. Team was in the playoffs.
Yeah, that's true. But
So I mean, that's all you
real-
can ask for.
I mean, like I said, man, two spots where Frank Reich will kill it at right now would be Denver and Arizona. Um, Detroit maybe, but those two spots definitely. So, and I also think he would be a good OC man. Like a lot of teams would be interested in hiring him as an OC. So we'll see. All right, man. We're gonna segue into this next topic. Odell Beckham Jr. to the Dallas Cowboy rumors that have surfaced up lately, and this ain't coming from some of these parody NFL trade rumor accounts or anything like that. It's coming from verified accounts, blue check folks that are really bringing this stuff up. So I got something pulled up on ESPN.com from a quote from Jerry Jones stating that Odell will look pretty good with the Cowboys. So he made an appearance on 105.3 The Fan in Dallas on Tuesday, and he was just talking about the current receiver core situation, and he said uh, how Odell will be a great addition to this team, and he will fit right in. But you know, Mike McCarthy, he gotta put his 2 cents in and all that. But Clarence Hill of the Forward Star Telegram put out a tweet today stated that it's my understanding that Odell Beckham prefers not to play in a cold weather city. He will for the right deal, but he prefers to be somewhere warm, especially coming off this ACL. The ball is in the Cowboys' court. So, with that being said, if they do add OBJ to this team to go along with CD Lamb and Michael Gallup, who's also recovering from an injury, a torn ACL, does the additional Odell makes the Cowboys a serious threat in the NFC, even if they
Yeah,
don't win the East?
yeah, I think it does because it just brings a new dimension of offense. They need production on that wide receiver core. This is plain and simple. It hasn't gotten the job done. Outside of CD Lamb, and he's had spurts of inconsistency as well. They sincerely need a threat. Like Noah Brown's been a nice story. Michael Gallup still getting back. Everybody, there's something behind every little situation. Cavante Turpin, they even have him in there. He's not an NFL receiver. He's a gadget guy. So any sort of spark that they could use would be great. And I think Odell would fit perfectly. And I do think that it makes them a serious threat because they already have the run game with Zeke and Pollard. You already have that. That's established. We know what Dak can do. He's a solid quarterback. So you add Odell to that, he'll be fully recovered, assumingly that they sign him. So he'll be ready to go. I mean, it may take a game or two to get him in, because he hadn't played a game in a
Yeah,
while since the Super Bowl. But he's been staying in shape. He's been working out according to his Instagram and his social media pages, and from people who are close to him. He's been working out. I think that he brings a new dimension to that offense that opposing defenses are going to have to respect. It's just going to be another player, another really good offensive player that Dallas adds. So, yeah, I think now could it beat them past Philadelphia in the division, like you said? No, but I think once you get to a playoff, he's like we saw in the Super Bowl. He's the type of player that is going to make a difference in a playoff game between you winning and losing. Because even when he got hurt, I think if he didn't play that first half, I don't think the Rams would have won the game. Like he made that much of a difference, and he didn't even play in the second half. He's one of those type of guys.
right.
He's gonna make a difference. So I agree. I agree that I think it vaults them up there to where I have Minnesota and Philly right now.
What you got, Brian?
I think it helps. I can't necessarily say their threat to be one of the top teams in the NFC, but I think they're better. And the way I look at it, on a championship team, Odell was, you can maybe say, the second best. But for the Cowboys, I think all he has to do is be the third best, and I think he could help them win because their defense legit can their offense take that next step against really good teams in the postseason? That's really the big question for me. But I think he helps. I just don't want anybody expect a lot from him since he's coming off of an ACL injury. But if he can give you a few receptions here, force the defense to have to worry about him and maybe open more things for CD Lamb and Michael Gallup, then it's worth it.
Okay. Yeah, I think he will be an upgrade to that receiving core, and I would say it depends on how healthy and how effective he is with the offense and his chemistry, and how fast the chemistry between Beckham and Dak can sink in will determine how serious of a threat they are to the NFC, Philadelphia, Minnesota right now, because I think those are the top two teams in that conference, Philadelphia and Minnesota. Everybody else is, meh for right now. You know what? It's in Dallas. Dallas is really good. I think Dallas has a defense that can beat a team that could go on the road and beat a team like Philadelphia or a Minnesota. Going a deep playoff run. Running game is legitimate. Tony Pollard having his best year with the team. Hopefully he can get paid by Dallas. If not, somebody will pay him. If it's not Dallas, um, having Odell on this team as another option does help. I think Odell is better when he is not being considered as the number one option, and he will be that. He won't be that in Dallas. You got your C.D. Lambs, you got your the Noah Brown, you got Michael Gallup. You know, I think Dalton Schultz is still a part. Well, I know he's part of the team, but I'm not sure if he's back yet, healthy. But you have him the tight end, and you got Dak, so he would help his team out. But it's going to depend on how quickly he can get in sync with Dak Prescott, because that's going to be the key right there, the chemistry between those two. Because we saw what happened in L.A. when once him and Stafford got in sync, and they were really dangerous as an offense. So we'll see. Anything else y'all want to add?
I just think that also if you add Odell, like you Brian said, he's not gonna be. We're not expecting Odell Beckham to come in and be your number one guy. He's not that Giants guy no more, and that's what people have to realize that. Like he's not that guy. But having him on you would rather have him on your team than have to play game plan against him. That's for sure. And like I think y'all remember how he's not the deep threat that Deshaun Jackson is. Obviously, remember how Deshaun Jackson came in and he played a few games last year with the Raiders. You remember that Thanksgiving game that he had
Yeah, it's Dallas.
against Dallas, when he only had like 3 catches, but he had like 100 some yards and like 2 touchdowns, something like that. He was just like his press and like he was no. The important part was he was causing all those pass interference plays. Like he the type of guy like that. He's gonna be a distraction. Like Odell's a positive distraction on the field, and because you're gonna have to if you let him, like you're not gonna take it for granted. Like it's still Odell Beckham. Like he still has a
Yeah,
name, so he gives you that, and he's gonna give you the production on the field. But it's just like you said, there's knowing that he's not a number one no more. Anymore. He's not a number one receiver. Those days of the number one receiver are over with. But he still can be an impactful player in a winning situation.
okay. And also want to ask y'all this: so you add Odell to this team, does that increase the pressure on Mike McCarthy getting it done as a head coach, as a playoff team?
Not really, because I don't think OBJ is that big of a difference maker. Mike
You don't
McCarthy,
think so?
no. It's one thing if he was healthy in their assignment, but he's coming off of an ACL. So I hope I'm wrong. I hope OBJ can have a huge impact, but I'm not gonna be a prisoner of the moment and think, or I don't know if that's the right term, but I just don't want to put all my eggs in one basket that OBJ is going to be that big of a difference maker. But I think one thing, Mike McCarthy can't lose to a team the Cowboys should beat. Like, for example, you can't lose to let's say they play the Falcons. You can't lose to the Falcons. I feel like a successful season for the Cowboys is making it to the NFC Championship game, and anything but that is a failure.
Really? If they lose to Brady?
I think they should beat the Bucks based on what we see now. Yeah, but that's the way I look at it.
You never know with Tampa, man, because the number 12. But I
Yeah.
get your point. Yeah, I get your point. All right, so we'll segue to this, man. And I told Leo a while back that I was off the Rams chances train of going back to the Super Bowl after the Dallas loss. But he said that he still believed in him. But I watched this game against they played against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the Rams is just not the same type of team, man. They're just not the same type of team. Our defense is still there. It's still intact. Still a really good defense. Still near the top of the league. But in regards to the offense, they're ranked. They're falling off, man. Despite with the personnel in that offense, they're ranked 30th in the league in total offense. They're ranked dead last in rushing. This is a team now. Sean McVay's offense, regardless of what people say about it, the running game plays a huge part in it. And the Rams' offense is just hasn't been it. It's pretty much if you're not connecting it with you're not connect. If Stafford ain't connecting with Cup, it's just not the same, And the loss of Odell Beckham Jr. is playing a huge part in this. Allen Robinson has been a disappointment. Van Jefferson ain't up to par this season so far. Regressed. The tight end, even Tyler Higbee, he hasn't been a factor, man. He had a really good season last year. He hasn't been a factor, you know. So they lost to the Rams. They lost to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers yesterday on a last minute touchdown pass by Tom Brady. Clearly had that game in the bag. I don't know if Sean McVay. He got real, tight with the play calling, man. I've been saying this since last year that for whatever reason he gets real uptight with play calling in big games. In certain games he's coaching that. But they're 3-5 on the year. You fall further down in the division race for the NFC West. You still have a chance to get to win it, but not playing like this. So I want to ask y'all right now between the LA Rams and the Green Bay Packers, which team will look more like a playoff team during the second half of the season?
That's an easy one for me. I got to go with the Rams because I think a lot of their issues are injuries. They can get a little healthier. I think they'll be all right. But the Packers, they just look like they've quit, and I just don't know if. And I want to be careful when I say quit. I think they quit because they just don't feel like they have the pieces to get the job done and ultimately be where they want to be. So that's what I mean by quit. But yeah, the Packers. Once they've lost how many they've lost in a row, I'm done with them. They're not going to win their division. Maybe they can sneak in the wild card, but I like the Rams' chances better than the Packers.
Go ahead, Lil.
I agree with Brian. I like the Rams better. Um, I'm never gonna count out Aaron Rodgers. You can't ever count him out. Like he's been in this situation before. A couple years back, won the division, came all the way back and won the division. Was down. They had a losing record too for a lot of their season. They came back and won the division, got in the playoffs. So you can never count him out. He deserves that much respect. And the defense is legit. Actually, it's actually pretty. I have some really good foundational pieces at all three levels. I mean, it's very sad they lost Rashawn Gary to injury. Their Pro Bowl defensive end. They lost him to I think a torn ACL. Um, so he's out for the season. So that's devastating. But they still have playmakers: Jair Alexander, Devondre Campbell. You still got what's his name? Kenny Clark. You still got a lot of playmakers on their defense. I think offensively, when I think Aaron Rodgers needs to understand this. He's not going to get another receiver, and that he's just going to have to work with what he has. And once he realizes that, he'll be more happy. Because I don't think he's really appreciating. Because those guys are trying, like the Christian Watson, Romeo Dobbs, Randall Cobbs. They're not household names, or in terms of Cobb, not anymore. But he's just gonna have to work with what he has. But as I say that though, the Rams just won the Super Bowl. I can't count them out. I can't. And and it's simply because they play in the. I think they play in the. I'm about to say they play in the. No, I can't even say that.
It's not a weak division, man.
It's not a weak division, and I honestly can't see them finishing ahead of the Niners or the Seahawks at this point because the Seahawks
You
have.
know what? This Sunday again, when they go to Germany to play Tampa Bay, that's gonna tell us a lot about the Seahawks. Just saying.
You think so?
Yes. That's the toughest challenge of the year so far, to me.
For sure, but they did beat it. They beat the Chargers when they were healthy.
Yeah, go ahead, finish up.
But yeah, I just feel that. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with the Packers because I think they played a slightly lesser division. Like in terms of you really don't got to worry about the Vikings if we keeping it a book. And I do think that you have Aaron Rodgers. Like he he's a flip the switch guy. Like we saw on Sunday, Brady had a vintage moment. He's one of those guys that can have a vintage moment. Like he can have that. I think he's still there. Like these guys do big. Like Aaron Rodgers is best when nobody is supposed to rip him off. Like they're writing him off now. Like Tom Brady, we wrote Tom Brady off. This guy at least a game winning touchdown drive. We riding Aaron Rodgers off right now. Now watch them win like 6 in a row or something like this, some crazy streak that we haven't. And then we're looking back in a month and a half from now. We really wrote Aaron Rodgers off. So I think I'm going with the Packers.
You on the Packers? Oh man, you going with the Packers? You know what, man? Bro, I don't like the way it's just me, man. I just don't like the way both these teams are looking, man. It just like the Rams got personnel, man. These are the same people, minus Allen Robinson from last year and Odell that put up a lot of numbers, a lot of yards that last year as our offense. Um, I don't know, man, because it's like the Rams' offense is just too Cooper Cup dependent. If he gets shut down, they're in trouble. They can't run the football with Darrell Henderson or Cam Akers. Green Bay, man, they can do it, but man, it's gonna be tough, man. It's hard, bro. Yo, they 3-6, right? They 3-6. Um, winning the division is out of reach, in my opinion, for them. Their path to the playoffs gonna be through the wild card. It may come down between it might come down between the Rams, the Packers, and who else? The Seahawks. If they drop their lead in the West, on who gets that final wild card spot, because I think the Giants and Dallas gonna come out of gonna be two wild card teams out of the NFC East. The other one's gonna come out of the West or the South. But it just like Green Bay's offense got to get going, man. You know they lost to a Detroit Lions team that you know it plays hard. You know every now and then. Well, they play hard throughout the season. You lost against the Giants. You know it's gonna be hard, man, because you don't have that go to receiver yet. They haven't that person hasn't arrived yet. You know, Romeo Dobbs is their best option, but he's inconsistent. You know, so I mean, the way I see it, it will be the Rams, bro. I think it will be the Rams that could get right over the Green Bay Packers. You know, Sean McVay can. I'm more than sure. I'm more than. I mean, I know Sean McVay knows how to adjust, man. Knows how to play to his team's strength. Knows how to get that running game going, bro. It just has happened right now because the defense still legit, man. So we'll see. Also, I want to ask y'all this too. Do y'all think there's a chance Sean McVay could retire after this season and go to commentating?
No.
No, yeah. His wife said he's not retiring. They just signed him a new deal too. I think after the Super Bowl would have been a perfect time for him to depart from the game. I think that would have been perfect time, and like you would have won your championship, all the building that y'all did to get to where him and Les Snead did. That's the culmination point. Why not go out on top if that was his intentions? But by him signing that new deal, I think this signifies that he wants to stay the LA Rams coach as long as they'll have him. And trust me, they'll have him for a long time.
All right. I mean, some people be mentioning it out there, but it's a possibility, man. But I don't know if it happens, man. They got a bad cap situation though. The cap situation is really bad. All right. We got a comment here from JL. Big fan of the show. Keep going, guys. Appreciate that. And Big L, well, JL asks, what do y'all think about the Memphis Tigers win against Vanderbilt? I thought it was an impressive win. I saw contributions from everybody on the team. Kind of shocked by the lineup that was poured out there. You know, I thought Cal would have start, but they decided to go with Malcolm Dandridge, who played pretty well last night against Vanderbilt, and Ayla was really good, was on point as well. Had 10 points, I think 10 rebounds, so he did pretty good as well. What y'all think?
It was a good win against an okay Vanderbilt team, but still some work to do. Next week is really going to be a big test for them at St. Louis. But you take the result. You can only play who's in front of you, and Vanderbilt was in front of them. They took care of business. So we're going to wait to see if Franklin can get eligible and then how he fits in the rotation. And will anybody be added to the rotation not included in an injury situation? And then take it from there.
You got anything to add, Leo? Leo.
He knows what he's doing.
All right, man. Look, hey. So last topic, man. Alabama went down to LSU this year, and that's their second loss to the year, and most likely done for the playoffs for the CFP. Do y'all think Saban has lost a step? I sound cliche and all, but we'll ask y'all that.
um, I think he needs to make some staff changes. That's what I believe. Probably both OC and DC, and maybe a few more. But I'm not until he's the recruiting still good. You can make it's either this is what I look at. It's either he's lost a step or the playing field has gotten better, and I think it's probably a little bit of both. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, that's the way I look at it.
What you guys say, Leo? He stepped out. Hey, well, I'll say this then, man. I'll say this about Alabama. The last two seasons, something that's been alarming about them as a team is the way offenses have been able to move the football on them. You know, that's kind of unheard of with an Alabama team, even with their better teams throughout the years. This year we saw it with Texas. Texas moved the ball on pretty well. He even did it with a backup QB. Who else? Tennessee. They had some success against them. LSU had some success against them with their roster. I was just kind of surprised that Mississippi State couldn't do that, but it is what it is. Um, do I think he lost a step? I'll say no. It's just this year they don't have the firepower on the outside to really hurt teams when they get in a bind like that, like they did against LSU or in Tennessee. They just don't have the guys on the outside on the perimeter. I can honestly say that I'm not sure they got a first round pick on at a wide receiver in this year's draft from Alabama. They just don't have it. That tight end they have is okay. You got Jameer Gibbs, but other than that, man, there's nothing that really on the outside that really can hurt a defense. And the secondary is where I'm just really shocked the way Alabama secondary has been playing. So yes, they're most likely Pete Golden will be let go. Bill O'Brien will be let go. But he'll get a job somewhere. It'd be interesting to see who does Saban decide to turn to get a new for his OC, because that's gonna be important, especially with now that you're dealing with Tennessee, Josh Heupel, Brian Kelly in LSU. You know, you still got Lane Kiffin out there in Mississippi, so we'll see how everything plays out. They got an interesting game this week against the Rebels, and they lose that game. Have Bama ever lost two in a row under Saban?
Well, that's a good question. Probably his first season.
Yeah. Huh?
I said probably in his first season, but yeah, that's one hell of a point.
Yeah.
It's going to be very, very interesting to see how what the reaction will be if they go down this weekend. But while this season may be lost for Alabama standard, they still can make it to a good ball game and win it.
Yeah.
But definitely the bigger questions will be asked in the offseason, how Nick Saban handles it will probably define the rest of his tenure as Alabama's head coach.
All right. JL says, don't be surprised if we get another Tennessee Georgia matchup on a natural field. What y'all think about Tennessee's strengths and weaknesses? In regards to that, man, JL, Tennessee, you know, don't take this the wrong way, man, but right now, just Georgia's just on a different playing field compared to everybody else. It's just that's just what it is, man. In regards to talent level, man. When you can move the football on Georgia. You can't move the football on Georgia, but you can move the football on Alabama. That and LSU, that should tell you a lot about the level of the competition of where Georgia is at right now. It's just what it is. And you may get a different result if they play again, but I'm not so sure, man. It's just Georgia is just on a different level, and a lot of people, underestimated Georgia, and they felt that they felt like since Georgia lost so much talent to the NFL from last year's squad that they were going to regress this year, and they're proving everybody wrong, And Stetson Bennett is proving me wrong because I didn't feel like last year. I felt like they should have went to JT Daniels as the quarterback, but they decided to go with Stetson Bennett. I didn't think he was a national championship winning quarterback, but that's who they decided to go with. So um, Tennessee's strengths, man, is weak. Nothing is wrong with their strengths and weaknesses. It's just that they're in a different. Georgia's just in a different stratosphere right now, man. As far as competition. Thanks for your comment, though. You got anything to add, Leo?
I just popped back in. What was the discussion?
All right, so we got a comment from JL. We're talking about the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked if Nick Saban had lost a step at Alabama. It's a cliche kind of question, but I just want to put it out there and see what y'all thought about it. And JL said, you know, don't be surprised if we get another Tennessee Georgia rematch in the CFP. And I was just saying nothing is really wrong with Tennessee. It's just that Georgia's just on a different playing field compared to everybody else. So you go ahead. Go ahead.
Tennessee is an elite team. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you.
Tennessee is an elite team. They just went up against a great team, and those things happen. And I do agree that we could have Georgia UT part two, but both teams are gonna have to keep winning. Well, Tennessee's gonna have to get back on the winning track, and Georgia's gonna have to keep their winning ways going. I think they're in regardless. If they lose to whoever they play in the West, they'll still probably be in. But Tennessee. I think y'all talking about teams catching up with Saban. Y'all were talking about is that what you were just saying?
Yeah, what's on with that?
I don't think that people are catching up with Saban. I just think that you know it's just that everybody's not going to Bama. Like
Right.
everybody's not going to Alabama anymore. Like you can go find your way at another school, and you probably can. I mean, he plays a lot of freshmen, but you probably get on the field faster. And you go different coaching. It's not just one way. He used to get all of the elite players, almost every sort of like relevant 5-star at every position, pretty much. Like he was getting all those guys,
Yeah.
but those guys aren't going to Alabama anymore. They're going to Clemson. They're going to LSU. They're going to Georgia. I think Georgia's become the new Alabama, but I don't think it's that because people have caught up to Alabama. I just think that they're just choosing different schools, and like Alabama's just not you know it's not a must. It's not this lure about Alabama. It's kind of like when Mike Tyson. It was like a lore about him, like when he was fighting.
Yeah.
It's not Alabama don't have that lore anymore. It's we respect him.
Mm,
I don't think it's that. I mean, because they did say this, DB, and an Alabama fan told me this. See, when we lose, it's like we're somebody's Super Bowl when we lose, but
yeah.
when we win, it's just another Saturday.
It's like Floyd Mayweather, man. It's like people tune in to watch Floyd Mayweather fight because they want to see him lose, to see if he can lose, and that's what the allure is about watching Alabama. You know, go ahead, go ahead.
I can hear you, but yeah, I can hear you now. My bad. We have some technical difficulties. I'm sorry. I wasn't saying anything.
Oh, okay, but somebody I read this tweet online like a few weeks ago, and they were saying that ever since Kirby Smart took the job with Georgia, they're saying that Alabama's defense has been suspect. What do y'all think about that?
Ever since he took the job, you said ever since Kirby Smart took the job with Georgia, Bama's defense been suspect.
Yeah, because he was the DC for a minute.
Yeah, I think a lot of those philosophies that he's put in there with Georgia, I think, with especially, and I think like we just talked about, a lot of those players, those defensive players that would like a Jordan Davis probably would have went to with the Bama, uh,
Yeah,
back then, or like a what's his name is in the NFL now, linebacker that just got drafted, N'Kobe Dean,
Kobe
would
Dean.
have,
Yeah,
yeah, probably would have went to Alabama, like you know what I'm saying, like they're getting those
yeah,
guys, like Kirby's building, Alabama. He's building Alabama imprint. And I mean, trust me, when you learn under a master pupil, like your master pupil, you learn under somebody like Saban, he just take what he's learning, he's implementing well, and that's what he's building Alabama part two, and he's done a pretty good job of it. Would you say so?
yeah. He is. When he took the job in Georgia at 2017, 2016, I think it was 2016. Yeah, it was 2016. But I would say you can see the fall off, man. Like with the way the offenses have been able to move up on the field on it, man. You can see it. That COVID year, that year they won the championship, um, a lot of teams were down that year, you know, so they really didn't have any competition. You know what I'm saying? Can hear you.
I I get what you're saying, but a title is a title though. Like they always say these bubble title championships, but they didn't bring the goalpost in for the championship. Like we gotta keep that in mind. And that was COVID was a difficult time for everybody, too. Like everybody rosters was depleted. I mean, SEC. My dad and I were just looking at that. SEC pretty much kept it solid, but it was a hard time for everybody, not just one or two programs. So I don't think I can knock them for winning a title. Actually, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it is. I mean, dealing with the environment and just
Hmm.
the circumstances. So, I'm just saying, man, just like when they said he was playing football that year in SEC, I already knew like what was the result was going to be, man, because you didn't have LSU to deal with. There wasn't a threat. Tennessee weren't Tennessee at the time. Georgia was just wasn't Georgia at the time. So I already know what was going to happen. But I get your point though. All right, that's all I have for y'all. That's all we have for y'all for right now, man. Give us a like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Let us know how you feel. How you feel? Let us know how you feel about the topics we talked about tonight. Also, you can check out strike7sports.com for latest content on the NFL, the NBA, and much more. Listen to this through Apple or Spotify. Give us a 5-star rating and leave your comments. Have a blessed night. Peace. We out.